Junie B. Jones was an era in my life. Hello, I am Maddie, and this is Madison Vale Publishing. Today we are talking about the books that built me. We're going to start from my youth. I called my mom and asked her, what books do you remember me reading growing up? Because I have been a lifelong reader. I have always loved to read. My mom and dad always very much helped because I was a yapper. I think that I was always meant to be a reader and writer because I am a big talker. I am forever grateful that we started reading to me so young. That was the beginning of my lifelong habit. After I graduated from books like Magic Castle books, I kind of moved into chapter books like Junie B. Jones or The Magic Tree House. I would read them cover to cover in a single afternoon, the same way that I do now. But I loved Junie B. Jones. I thought the stories were so funny. The voice of Junie B. Jones is so memorable to me. Junie B. Jones was an era in my life. I'm not sure if everybody has this experience, but I remember being in elementary school and having Brandon Mull, the author of Fablehaven, come and visit our school to tell us about his new book. And it was the most exciting thing to have an author come to our school. It was the moment that I realized there was a person behind the story that I was reading. So my mom bought me Fablehaven books, the very first one with the original cover. And I would read that to my baby sister. She would come and sleep in my bed. So to try and get my baby sister to sleep in her own bed, I was like, you can go to your room, I'll read Fablehaven to you, and once she falls asleep, I'll go to my bed. It's my brilliant idea. She would fall asleep and I would go to my bed and I would read some more secretly. And then I would wake up and she would be in my bed with me anyway. But I really love Fablehaven. It was my very first fantasy series, and it's kind of like a core memory. Once you get into full-size chapter books, it becomes really easy to expand your range of reading. We all had our Divergent, Hunger Games era, and some of us were in our Vampire Academy times, the Fallen series. All of these really dark, atmospheric YA books were big. Among those dark, atmospheric books in YA, there was Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. This, to this day, is one of my favorite books, and Patch, the main male character, was for sure my first book boyfriend. I looked right past his red flags. Hush Hush is a book that I lend out and I literally never get back. I've reread it 9 times. If you know me in real life, you know I'm not a rereader. But Hush Hush is one of those books that I can reread because it makes me feel the same way every single time. Even now that I know what's going to happen, I can see the tension building and I can see all the signs pointing to what's going to happen in the end. And I get to the end and I'm just like, oh, it's so good. It's so good. I have a favorite chapter. I have favorite lines. Patch is still one of my favorite book boyfriends to this day. So as one of my favorite books, I had to include it in this list. When I got into my later teens, I was really struggling with my mental health. So I kind of turned away from fiction for a time and ended up in the self-help realm. For a time, all I cared about was a book that was going to make me a better person and a book that I was going to learn something from. There was one book that I actually still enjoy, and that is You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. It is just full of funny, quirky, snappy information that will help you get unstuck. I regularly think about the big Italian grandmother analogy in that book. Whenever I try something new and it feels like my life is fighting back, I'm like, it's your big Italian grandmother. The only thing about being in that self-help realm was that it did make me really snobby about books, and I went straight into classics. I deep dived. I kind of ended up in this snobby realm of, I only read the classics. I don't only read the classics, but I felt like that was the only way to read at the time. My favorite classic is The Alchemist. The reason that I love The Alchemist is because you don't have to go searching. The way that I read it was that at some point, you have to stop thinking there's something wrong with you. So The Alchemist was that double-edged sword of, I'm going to read this because I'm snobby, but then, oh my gosh, the snobbery is not making me happy. It was the book that told me, like, at some point you have to admit that there's something wrong with you, and you have to move on and choose to be happy and do the things in your life that are authentic to you. Which leads me to the last era, the most recent era of books for me. I fell in love with fiction again through Bookstagram and Book Talk. The book that I would say encapsulates my little book talk moment is the Off Campus series by Elle Kennedy, specifically The Deal. That is the book that kind of started me on the path of spicy novels as healing, because I have done a lot of like deconstruction of old beliefs through reading romance books. The way that Hannah and Garrett are and the way that Hannah heals with the help of Garrett is very much indicative of my own story. For me, The Deal was the book talk book. All of this is to say that reading is more fun when you read what you want to read. Thank you for watching. The end.